Thank you very much, President Weingarten, for that really gracious introduction. Thank you for your outstanding leadership in this great organization. It's my honor to welcome all of you to Minnesota and to congratulate you on your centennial anniversary, celebrating your 100-year commitment to improving America's public education. I also want to tell you how very, very proud we are of your Executive Vice President, Mary Catherine Ricker. Mary Catherine has long been one of Minnesota's most outstanding education leaders. She did a phenomenal job leading the St. Paul Federation of Teachers. Now, where is the Minnesota delegation? Minnesota. Oh, we're here, okay. Get better seats than we ever get to the Democratic National Convention, that's for sure. And we're very sorry to lose Mary Catherine to your national organization, but we're glad that she's able to have an even broader national impact on behalf of all of education all over this country. I also want to give a shout out to Denise Speck, our outstanding president of Minnesota Education Minnesota. She and all the Minnesota delegates have been just tremendous allies in our fight in Minnesota to keep improving the quality of public education in our state. And I'm also proud to say that I was once one of you. From 1969 to 1971, I taught ninth grade general science at a public school in the Lower East Side of New York City. I was a member of the AFT, then in New York called the UFT, and led by Al Shanker. It was the toughest job I've ever had, up until this one. Those kids taught me a lot more than I taught them. They taught me about real life. They also taught me how hard it is to become an effective teacher, especially in an overcrowded, under-equipped classroom of 32 adolescents. That experience gave me a lasting respect and admiration for all of you who devote your lives and careers to educating the next generation of Americans. Like everyone else in public education, you've had to constantly do more with less, to perform ever more sophisticated and complicated work assignments with ever fewer resources, and to do so in ever more difficult working environments. I find that most critics of our public schools here in Minnesota haven't been in one since they graduated. They have no comprehension of the real dynamics in schools today. When I taught in New York City, our students spoke 4 different languages. Throughout Minnesota today, there are over 100 languages and dialects spoken. Kids come to their first day of school here from other places already behind in their studies, and from other countries where they haven't been to school at all. Many speak and understand very little English. Children with moderate to severe disabilities are now, thank goodness, welcomed into our public schools. However, they need special attention and services. You know all this. Unfortunately, too many of our politicians don't. And too many of our fellow citizens don't realize how badly we are underfunding public education in this country. Many have been led to believe that we're throwing all this money at our schools with very little return. But you and I know better. We know how much it takes every day, every month, and every year to not only educate a child, but also to soften the harsh blows their lives rain upon them. As President Obama said, we won't outcompete other countries if we don't out-educate them. We know that our nation's continuing economic and social progress, our very way of life, depend upon the quality of education we provide all of our students everywhere in America. So what is our country doing about it? Not enough. When we face rising military challenges from other countries, we have spent, quote, whatever it takes to outcompete them, whether or not it was easy or convenient. And we did what we had to do in order to survive and even to thrive. If the federal government funded the Pentagon as it does special education, providing less than half of what was promised 40 years ago, Would Congress stick its collective head in the sand and pretend it's not a problem? Of course not. If our ships and planes were not receiving the maintenance needed to perform at their best, would we be complacent? Of course not. Yet now, when our country's future success depends even more upon a well-educated, innovative, and productive citizenry, you're being told, do more with less. Some say that more money doesn't matter. Oh, really? If our Navy were not performing the way we thought it should due to underfunding, would we set up charter navies? Or private navies? Or homeschool our naval commanders? Of course not. We would invest the resources necessary to correct the problems. We need to make the same national commitment to public education. When I ran for governor in 2010, I promised to increase state funding for K-12 public education every year I was governor. No excuses, no exceptions. And I'm proud to say that I've kept that promise. Even when I took office in 2011 and faced a $6 billion deficit, the legislature and I increased K-12 education funding by $145 million. The next year, still facing another deficit, we increased income taxes on the wealthiest 2% of Minnesotans, and only the wealthiest 2% of Minnesotans, and closed corporate tax loopholes in order to make very significant additional investments in public education. We paid our school districts back the over $2 billion the previous administration had borrowed from them. We increased our funding for general K-12 education, for special education, and for early childhood scholarships. And we fulfilled another one of my campaign promises by providing full state funding for all-day kindergarten for every Minnesota 5-year-old. In its first year, it had a participation rate of 99.7% all over our state. Now I'm pushing hard for universal pre-K in our public schools for 4-year-olds. We're working with teachers as allies rather than against them as adversaries. We know we all share the same goal, to give all Minnesota students the best possible education and to prepare them for success in the turbulent global economy. We know their futures depend upon their educations. We know our country's future depends upon their education, which means our country's future depends upon all of you. So I thank you for taking on that huge responsibility, and I thank you for doing the job so well. Have a good convention. Thank you.